to Big Beats Fucking Metal Show. Welcome to Big Beats Fucking Metal Show.
Yo, what up, motherfuckers, and welcome back to Big Pete's Metal Show. And today we're going to be talking about Sevendust, All I See Is War. Now, to be honest with you guys, this is the second time I reviewed this album. You didn't see the first video because it was fucking garbage, and I don't think you dudes deserve a fucking garbage video. And, sorry if I assumed your gender when I said dudes there, too. I apologize to any ladies watching. I assume it's always a sausage fest, which it usually always is. So, anyway, without further ado, let's just fucking jump into the synopsis of this album. It is the 11th studio album by Sevendust. These guys have been around for 20 plus years. Their debut album came out in '97, and while their newer stuff isn't going to be as heavy or as that type of production heaviness as it was back in the day, like albums like the self-titled and Home, Animosity, these new albums are very solid and very good. Sevendust, I believe, is one of those bands that is notorious for not pissing off their fans because they find a way to stay original yet keep their sound over the course of pretty much all their albums. And this one is a worthy example, and good example rather, is a worthy follow-up, worthy successor to 2015's Kill the Flaw, which I think was a very good album and an improvement over their previous one, 2013's Blackout the Sun, which is probably my least favorite Sevendust album. I do like it still, but it got a little more softer, more rock. And this album is a great example because basically, we'll dive into some of the tracks a little more in detail, but basically, for this entire album, it's a good mixture of the hard rock sound with a bunch of metal elements thrown in. And Sevendust is a band that can please fans of both ends of the spectrum, in my opinion, which is why they're so loved and they have such a good fan base. And that's due to the fact that they please fans of rock, and there's enough stuff there, and there's enough material to please metal fans as well, metalheads. Anyway, track 1, Dirty, is the first single off of the this album. It came out, I think, a month ago, and it's a fantastic track, and it's got the explosive, such the powerful, hard-hitting choruses, LJ's vocals. And another thing that goes on with every single track on this album, LJ's vocals switching off with the screams of the bass player, whose name I forgot, forgive me. But yeah, they just a beautiful switch off between those vocals. And I like how the bass player's screams are kind of like in the background, but they're still prominent enough. It's not like in your face type of like Cannibal Corpse screaming. It's not like it's a very well produced album. And while we're on the production topic, I'd like to say I was listening to this in my car. I probably listened to this album 6 or 7 times through so far. It's you can feel the bass drum. Not only can you hear it perfectly, it's like the bass drum is like you could feel it happening, and it's an awesome experience. And yeah, so we got 12 tracks on this. It's, I think, 45-minute affair in total. Average length is like 3.5, 4 minutes. Coming on to track 2, nothing really different. Track 3 is another one of my favorites. Not a whole lot different going on with the music, but it's just got an extremely catchy chorus, and I'm pretty sure they released track 3, which is Medicated. I'm pretty sure they released that as a single on Friday when this album came out too. There's a video up for it. And track 4, let me go through really quick. Track 4, 7, and 12. Those are Unforgiven, Risen, and The Truth, respectively. And those are standouts as the heavier tracks on the album. And they feature a lot of heavier guitar work, a lot of metalcore-esque breakdowns, and yeah, some really interesting stuff. Those are some standout tracks for me. And moving on, we have track 5, which is Cheers. Stands out to me as one of the softer tracks on the album. It's still good. It's like it's a mid-paced type of ballady feel, but it's not per se. There's no ballads on this album, although some songs might come off as that, such as track 5. Um, Moving on, we got track 6. Track 6 is a pretty average track, same stuff we've been talking about, and it's the intro is probably my favorite part in that. It has a fantastic intro riff, and moving on to track 8. Track 8 is unique as standout on the album because it features a piano pretty much throughout the whole song, and it's not like, once again, this isn't one of the softer tracks. It's a good hard rock tune, but the piano is used like perfectly with the rest of in sync with the rest of the instruments. My favorite part of the song is the pre-chorus, where it's just like a galloping riff, and the drums really complement that, and the piano does as well. It adds a whole bringing on the piano in this track adds a whole new layer, depth to the sound in the emotion that the track gives off, and it's a fantastic track, and it's a very good implementation of that instrument. Track 9, another thing that stands out is the guitars in the chorus specifically, because you're getting treated to these heavy guitars throughout most of the album. And you get to track 9, the chorus, the guitar tone, it's a higher tone, right, which really complements LJ's voice as well as he's singing these explosive choruses, and it's really unique, and it's a good change of sound for the album. As you can tell, we're in towards the end of the album now, and it seems like they're getting a little more experimental. Not per se, Sevendust isn't an experimental band, but I mean they're just throwing in a couple new things towards the end of this album. That was track 9, not original, and if I didn't mention it, it's track 8, Moments, with the piano, and basically track 10 and 11, nothing really new to say that we've already covered. Track 12, we've already talked about that a little bit. It's one of the heavier tunes on the album, and it's a fantastic closing track. So that is my review of Sevendust's 11th studio album, All I See Is War. Definitely worth picking up if you're a Sevendust fan. Definitely worth checking out if you're metalhead or not a Sevendust fan. It's a band that I'm sure will please most fans of heavier music, whether it be rock, hard rock, heavy metal, or what have you. Anyway, it's time to give this a rating, and I give it a solid 80 out of 100, or 8 out of 10, if you will. But yeah, it's just a really solid follow-up album to their Kill the Flaw, which was a fantastic album. And Sevendust is just one of the most consistent bands in the game. So, pretty easy record to listen to and to review. So, that'll be it from me. Fuck you, and listen to metal.